Hello everybody, welcome back to Dominions 5. We're continuing our game as late H Tianchi, and it is turn 45. Now I've actually... So the Diplo saga continues here with Man and L.A. Ulm and whatnot. Yeah. So, sorry, I'm just confused in my turns here. Let me just pause a second, make sure we're supposed to be on turn 45. All right, I'm back. Sorry, yeah, I'm a bit confused in the turns because of all the Diplo, and there were some delays in the turns. I've actually got two turns here that we have to catch up on. So, at the end of the last turn, we thought we might have peace with Man and with Ulm, potentially. I'm demanding this throne and to keep this stuff that I've conquered. But we hadn't heard back from Man yet, and so I had... well, I say that, but... Right, I hadn't heard back from Man yet, so I didn't want to be too aggressive, but on the other hand, I wasn't going to just retreat from his lands, because he might think, he might have just decided, no, we're just going to fight it out and counter-raided. So what I did is I consolidated this raiding force back up here, and then we had these guys. I just left them here, and they were patrolling. Meanwhile, we retook this that Man had taken, and that's pretty much it. Pretty much that. Now, if we look at the turn messages, there isn't much else. Here, accidentally raided me with a Vampire Countess. I was talking with right as the turn was rolling over, and I had agreed with that we would not kind of raid each other, and we were sort of waiting for the details of the peace agreement, that might potentially happen to come through, so we didn't want to, continue to take provinces from each other. But so we both canceled all of our orders. I had scripted, some stuff to go and counter-raid him and all these things. He was on this fort, if you'll recall, so I was getting ready to fight him off the fort, and we decided to chill out for a turn. But he wasn't able to cancel this. He forgot to cancel this attack, so he's going to send me 44 or whatever the income from this province this turn, which is fine. And over here, he took his army that was here and he moved it off back onto Man's province over here. So that's what's happening on the Ulm front. And then over here, looks like Man had scripted this anyways, but he hadn't scripted anything here anyways. That's what's happening on that front. So during this turn, there is still a lot of diplomacy ongoing. Well, in the sense that actually I don't hear anything from Man until the very last minute in this turn. And so actually, no, I don't even hear anything from Man the whole turn. Sorry, I'm trying to get my story straight here. That's right, I don't hear anything at all back from Man. So this turn, what we decide to do is to stay in these provinces. And I tell Man, look, because Man had told me he would be away for most of the turn, but he should be able to get back to me on Diplo before the turn rolled over. But he didn't. So, on the one hand, I get it if he's stuck with real life issues. That's not, that's not a problem. On the other hand, I don't want to lose the advantage and the momentum that I have in the war should we end up continuing to fight. So I decide to stay here for the time being. And meanwhile, I'm reinforcing here because we got, unfortunately, attacked by Indies here. These demon knights are actually pretty tough. They're pretty scary. They have a huge amount of protection, also very high defense, and they have a fear aura, and they happen to be fire resistant and whatnot. Plus, they have super high morale. These guys are really, really nasty. So even though I have a small group of sacreds here, I don't feel that this is really enough to take this on. So we are reinforcing here with a bunch of other troops that we have around, and then next turn we'll try to take them out. Meanwhile, in terms of the turn micro, we summoned a second Flame Spirit. Now we're going to move them out to start site searching. We got a random event in our capital, which raised our temple, which sucks because that means we lose a turn of cap recruitment, of sacred recruitment. So we're going to rebuild our temple. We'll get a con, I guess, in the meantime. And that is pretty much it. Are we forging anything this turn? We're forging armors. We're forging swords as usual. Since we now have Conjuration 7, we are going to start summoning Mound Fiends. Now, why am I summoning them in Lemuria? Partly that's because that's where I had my death guys that could summon them. What I'm hoping here, what I'm thinking, is that this peace deal will go through. And if it does go through, then almost certainly what I'm going to do is I'm going to end my nap with Pangaea and try to come in here. During this turn, I do talk a little bit with the player who is playing Utgard. And because he's got like this, he had a bigger army here. Now it's moving in this direction. So I'm kind of asking him what's up. And he mentions that he might come and raid Pangaea here. Now, I don't know exactly the state of this war between Satis and him. And I reached out to Pangaea and I didn't get an answer back. This is just Mercs though. So this seems like it might just be a good old 1v1. But if Utgard joins, then Pangaea is not going to be able to handle this. Plus, if Ulm pieces out with me, then he might fight either Vedi or Utgard, but he might also return to his old war with Pangaea. Now, that's sort of less likely because he just pieced out with him. Still, I don't like Pangaea's odds. So if Pangaea is going to die, then I want some of it. So I want to grab stuff that I can. And I'm not at peace with Satis. Like, I'll take these things from Satis, too. I'll fight as Mercs. For all those reasons, I don't mind having my siege chaff down here. If I was going to go to war with Man, then it would make more sense to have the siege chaff up here. But honestly, I can move it up. It's not going to be too much of a big deal. So we're going to start getting siege chaff. Plus, it's kind of thematically appropriate to have my hordes of undead skeletons come from Lemuria. Yeah, so that was actually a super fast summary of this turn, but it is made somewhat less complicated by the fact that I'm just basically stalling for a turn. We're building a temple here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And in fact, this is going to let us... what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to skip forward and go and include the next turn in this episode, because in my mind they're just so jumbled together that I'm having a hard time like separating the Diplo out between the two turns. So let's just go ahead and do that. And load up the next turn. Good. Okay, so I didn't screw up with my turn saves. All right. So this is the turn that just ended, and it just rolled over, and I haven't looked at the turn after this. So during this whole turn, I still hadn't heard anything from Man. Now, the state of things with Ulm was that Ulm seemed to be okay with the terms of the peace that I had proposed. But we were still kind of waiting for Man to sort of agree, and it really is about Man, so he's the guy that matters the most here. And I still hadn't heard anything, and the turn was like 2 hours from rolling over, and so I just scripted everything to attack into this province here. So I had these guys attack, these guys attack. I had some guys with boots over here just move in, to get all the buffs that I needed. Now, to be fair, it wasn't a completely full script. I mean, I had some of the important buffs. Importantly, we did not do mass protection. I didn't have mass protection scripted. I went for what's it called? The Earth one that gives you cold vulnerability. Marble Warriors, which is actually, it's better than mass protection. It gives you 15 natural protection instead of 10. And the area of effect 25 is pretty large. Which means you only really need 2 guys, maybe 2 casts of it, maybe 3 casts of it to get most of your army. So we had scripted that, anti-magic and a few other things. But to be fair, it wasn't a full script. So I didn't have Wailing Winds. We didn't have like a communion up to help me get a lot of my spells up. Fire resistance would have been tricky to get because I had these guys, but I needed to like give them boots to get there on time. So we're kind of stretching it. Anyways, that was the script that was planned. And then at the last minute, man came online and we talked. And actually, what the order of events is actually that Utgard reached out to me. And so Utgard reaches out, and this is always worrisome. He says, so do we actually have a nap or no? And so, it's always bad when somebody asks you that question. And it turns out, so Utgard, I had originally approached to fight Lemuria together, and we had agreed to have peace. Now, in the Discord chat, we never actually agreed to a nap. We might have done it in-game. I actually forget. But what's interesting is that later on, like a few turns ago, I had a large army somewhere on his border, and Utgard was like, hey, are we cool? You have like a large army on my border. And then I told him, yep, we still have a nap and I don't break those, so we're good. And then he says, oh, okay, thanks, just checking. So it's like maybe we'd never officially agreed to a nap before, but I kind of told him we had a nap and he was like, oh, okay. Clearly, we were both operating under the assumption that we had a nap. But then he was checking and I was like, all right, look, let me guess. Manor Alm has reached out to you to attack me, right? And talking about like stopping me before I become like uncontrollable and things like that. So here's the thing, guys. So, it's totally appropriate in Dominions to like spread misinformation about your enemies. But in this particular case, I think I'm doing well in this game. I'm not sort of running away with it at all. One thing that's come up a lot in my negotiations with these players is, one way to measure player strength is how many capitals they control. And technically, I control 2. Except Lemuria doesn't count because... So there are 2 nice things about controlling a capital. One is you get a huge province with a ton of income. And 2, you get the sites for that capital, which usually have decent gem income. Which in the late age is usually about 4 gems, right? Sometimes it can be 5. That's it. Mostly it's just a really big province with a ton of population. That is the main point of getting a capital. Lemuria has no income. It does, however, come with 9 death gems. So basically, owning Lemuria is like having a death version of Mother Oak up, right? Instead of 10 nature gems, you get 9 death gems. That's it. You get no income from this province. So if you're assessing a player's strength who has Lemuria, on the one hand, don't overestimate their strength. They do not have the economic advantage of having 2 capitals. In fact, it's less than that because presumably if they conquered Lemuria, they conquered stuff in Lemuria's cap circle, which also is garbage. In this case, we got there pretty early, so we still have a bit of income here. But it's also known that I split Lemuria's lands with other players. So really, if you're evaluating my strength, I'm like a 1.5 cap nation maybe. I'm a 1 cap nation. I have good death income. That's basically it, right? Other than that, I just have my starting land. So the only additional strength I have besides being a 1 cap nation is whatever I've conquered, from man. And admittedly, I'm doing well in the war versus man. So, I'm not, you shouldn't count me as a weak nation, but I'm not really a strong nation. I think at this point in the game, Atlantis is clearly the leader because he has Mictlan. So he has not only Atlantis itself, which is here, he has conquered Mictlan, which is, I guess, which is over here. And like a chunk of Mictlan. He has a capital and a bunch of other things. No, I said that. That's not correct. Sorry, Mictlan is over here. Hang on. Mictlan is here. Yes. So Atlantis... Sorry, this is Cetis over here. Atlantis has a Mictlan. And in talking with Utgard, I actually found out that Atlantis has Mictlan, and he has most of what used to be Mictlan. Utgard was able to get some provinces here, but like only 4 provinces, he says. And here we can see that Atlantis is moving in on Erythea, which is ironic because Atlantis was, when we know that Erythea has been fighting Lucid for a long time, and he refused to kind of peace out. But we were all like, well, let's leave Erythea to do his thing, because as long as he keeps his squids occupied, everybody's happy. And Atlantis was definitely singing that refrain, right? He was like, yes, let's leave Erythea alone. Now, clearly, he has decided, no, we're going to go take Erythea. Now, that might be because Erythea pieced out Relay, because now we see that Relay is attacking Vedheim. But in any case, Atlantis has decided, you know what, I'm going to take Erythea for myself. So Atlantis is on 2 caps, moving on to 3. So clearly he's in a stronger position than I am. Plus, Atlantis is also a very, very strong late age nation. Anyway, so just like sort of a bit of like real talk. Like if we're trying to assess the actual strengths of the different nations, then, you know, let's be accurate. Let's not exaggerate. Now, obviously, players have a reputation, right? So, okay, I have a YouTube channel and some people watch it, and, you know, I'm not a bad player, so sure, you can fear me. That can be useful in diplomacy sometimes when you want to bully people around, but also means that people tend to want to team up against you. So, anyways, but Utgard here was, invited to maybe come and attack me. And what I told him was, well, look, I have a potential peace deal here, but clearly what they're doing is they're hoping that you'll join and then they can have a big fight. But what I told Utgard, which I think is mostly true and honest, is, first of all, I pretty much killed Man. Like, he's not completely dead. He has, like, one more big fight left in him. But I've killed all, like, his main first army, and, like, a ridiculous number of mages. So I'm not really worried about him exerting counter pressure against me. And Ulm doesn't have borders with me unless he takes some of Man's stuff, right? So if Utgard wants to fight me, it's basically going to be a 1v1, which, hey, we can do, right? That's a thing we can do. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment of the situation. It would be weird if Man attacked me and Utgard attacked me. Ulm can't also attack me. Unless at the end of the day he intends on keeping Man's land here. Like, what is he? Like, Utgard, let's say Utgard comes in here, whatever, and Ulm comes in here, and Man retakes his stuff, then Ulm has to keep this stuff. But his whole reason for fighting me was to protect his buddy Man. So that doesn't really make sense. I mean, sorry, it makes sense in the like if Ulm was playing, I don't want to imply that he's not playing for reals, but if he was playing purely for his own interests, there's a crazy play where he kind of allies with Man, says, I need to hold on to this while we fight Tianchi, and then after that war is over, he says, aha, I'm actually keeping it, and then he conquers Man, right? That would be like very devious, and you could do that, but I know that that's not what they're doing because they're clearly trying to be buddies here. So in the context of them being buddies, him fighting me while Utgard is also fighting me and Man is also fighting me makes no sense. So I think that's a pretty accurate assessment of the situation. Now, therefore, what should Utgard do? Well, previously he was thinking about going after Pangaea, and I asked him like if he had access to Vedheim, because Relay now is attacking Vedheim, and Vedheim's pretty small. But he says no, unfortunately, because Atlantis cut him off, and Atlantis has also cut him off from Erythea. So Utgard isn't very happy with Atlantis, but he doesn't feel up to like taking him on. So I think Utgard has two choices. He can like raid a bit of Pangaea, or he can go after Ulm in a 1v1. And I think what he's going to do is he's going to raid Pangaea. Which sucks for Pangaea, because it looks like Pangaea is doing okay fighting off Cetis, although I don't know. I haven't seen any reports of any major battles, so I'd love to get more information on that war. This looks scary, but this is actually just all the mercs in the game that Cetis owns, and they're all in this province, which is pretty funny. A province which, by the way, for some reason, I have 5 candles in, so that's cool. Anyways, so all this to say, at the very last minute, we did sign the peace deal. It did come through. I talked with Man, and he agreed, and I said it's a good thing because we were going to have a big fight here. And so the terms of the peace deal are the territory that I mentioned before. So these will be my new borders. I will have this province. This one was always mine. This one that I conquered. This one that originally was mine that I had raided. And this one was always mine. And he can keep like these provinces to the west. So I do get a throne out of it. The throne is the inner throne, which is nice because order +1 is going to be a nice boost to my economy because I don't have perfect order scales. And the extra blood slave income is not nothing either. So that is nice. In addition, the terms of the peace, well, I'll have a nap 3 with and I will have a nap with man, which will become a nap 3, but it is a sort of an enforced long-term nap of 12 turns initially. Which is something he wanted, but is also reasonable because, like, you know what, I'm going to peace out with him, but then I could wait like 5 turns and attack him again, right? So I could understand why he would want that, and that is actually fine with me because I don't want them suddenly turning around and deciding, oh, actually, we want to fight you. However, I did add one condition, which I don't think is going to be triggered, but it is something that I'm aware of. Like, I have weakened Mand a lot, and I could see another player, like maybe Relay or Satis, another stronger player, just coming in and sweeping and conquering man, right from under me, quote unquote. And I don't want that to happen. So I put in a clause in there that says if you're getting attacked by another player and you are getting defeated, then this piece is over and I'm coming and I'm taking your stuff before that other player gets it. Which I don't think is going to happen in this case because Relay appears to have committed against Vedheim, and then Satis is fighting Pangaea, and those are the only neighbors really that could be an issue. So what are we going to do? My 2 options. Well, I had 3 options. I had Erythea, Utgard, and Pangaea. I guess Atlantis too. Now Atlantis is in a pretty strong position, and it'd be a lot of logistics to move over to this side. And really, before I go after Atlantis, if I ever go after Atlantis, I'm going to need a stronger underwater presence, which means I want to have built up a nice stack of Long Dead, because I need to be able to threaten his underwater forts. So we could do it. We could pull it off later on, but not quite yet. So that is... they deal with Atlantis. Erythea, I would have liked to, but now I'm cut off by Atlantis, so that's not going to happen. Now Utgard, following our negotiations, we were like, okay, so maybe now we should make it super official that we actually do have a nap, and so we did. And so we have officialized our nap that maybe we had before. Honestly, we might have sent it to each other with in-game mail and forgotten about it. If we didn't, whatever, no harm came of it, and now we actually have an official nap, a nap 3, and therefore this turn I've sent a message to Pangaea saying that I've ended our nap because we did have a nap with Pangaea, and in fact, I want to double check something here. I'm just checking in Discord, because this is a player that I haven't played with before. And let me pause here just a second, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I was actually double checking that I did in fact have a nap 3 with Pangaea, or rather that the nap was a nap 3, because nap 3 is the most common nap that in this community we tend to use. But, it's possible that he had wanted something else and I'd given him something else, but it was an app 3. I just double checked, so I didn't make a mistake in the message that I sent him. Now, it kind of sucks to backstab him while he's fighting Satis. Honestly, I might have thought twice about doing it, but since Utgard is already coming in, that kind of is going to suck for him, so we're just going to make it a quick death insofar as we can. Now, I have no compunction about killing Satis' army either. So I might, come in, whatever. So if Satis controls all this, I might just come and fight Satis for it. But yeah, that is what's going to happen next. So this turn, we are, retreating from these provinces, and man will probably take them back. It'll be like maybe 2 turns before we can get on top of this fort and siege it down and take it. So that'll happen when it happens. And now we can resume our cap recruitment. Here we're attacking the Demon Knights. We've got a bunch of Sacreds. You know, it's actually not as many as I thought. We're doing buffs. We're doing mass protection. Creeping Doom, apparently. This should be enough. Hopefully it's enough. I don't know. I can just check the turn that's rolled over, and I'll see if it was enough. But that'll be for the next episode. And yeah, we're back to doing our normal, our good old stuff. We have our 2 Mound Fiends, which are reanimating. Oh no, this is the ability. Which are reanimating undead. So we're reanimating long dead. And I think that's it for this turn. Yeah, let me just mention. So I chatted with the man for a bit, and we talked shop, and he actually mentioned that he sort of anticipated my move here, and he was planning to throw everything he had in this province, which is a good move by him, good anticipation, including his god. And, I think I would have won, and I think it would have been very costly, given what he said he was bringing. He mentioned that he was probably going to do Foul Vapors with this god, and I do not have poison resistance, and I can cast it if I have basic poison resistance, and I don't have Serpent's Blessing yet. So I think I would have won, and it would have been costly. And the reason I would have won is because his troops would not have been strong enough to hold up to all of my cavalry. And so they would have chewed through his guys and his mages. But his battlefield spells like Wrathful Skies and Foul Vapors probably would have killed a bunch of my dudes before I finally killed him. So in hindsight, maybe it was a little greedy for me to make that move. And, I was partially distracted by... I was distracted by this sort of never-ending diplomacy on one part. But also, I kind of, was partially... I underestimated his resolve in that I kind of crippled him earlier. And I thought, if we have another fight, I'll just cripple him again. But, the first fight I crippled him, I brought a lot of mages. The second fight we didn't, and we kind of got, we got punched in the face, and we lost a lot of sacreds. So really, it's a little cocky of me to just kind of move in with sacreds with a few buffs and hope that things go well. If I brought a full army with all the buffs that I can cast, right? But that means taking a lot of guys off research. But if I did that, then I would wreck him, no doubt about it. If I cast all the buffs I have available to me, it's not even close. Because then we're talking, at this point, the usual things we were doing before, we wouldn't do mass protection. We would do Marble Warriors. But we obviously are doing Fog Warriors, but now we're doing Wailing Winds. Just Wailing Winds is just it's just devastating. It just makes him just... half his mages are just going to run off the field because Magisters have terrible morale. It would just be... It would... I don't think it would be close. I think we would totally destroy him. Anyways, that is... but that didn't happen, so I think we avoided a loss that would have been a bit painful. I would have kicked myself. I think we would have won, but I think we would have lost too many troops. A bit of a Pyrrhic victory, potentially. Anyways, we got Thaumaturgy 5, which we didn't really need if we're not going to fight Ulm, but now we have it, so that's nice. They're useful spells in here. We're going to get Construction 6, because it's long overdue. And then right now I've queued Enchantment 7. We'll decide if that's what we really want to do. I don't mind spending 2 turns to get Enchantment 7. Enchantment 7 gives us the option of doing Mass Flight. And that could be nice. I don't know. Importantly, it gives us Serpent's Blessing, which which is long past due that we actually have this spell available to us. I'm eager to get either Alteration 8 or Enchantment 8 to get Resist, to get battlefield-wide resists. So I'll have to decide if it's worth spending 2 turns to get Enchantment 7 before going Alteration 8, for example. And that will depend on how things shape up here with Pangea. Mass Flight is really nice for fort battles in particular, and also Astral Communions. So that's definitely a nice option. Pangea doesn't have great air access, but they can communion up air, so they might do Storm. But I see they're using a lot of crossbows, so maybe they don't want to do Storm. But we'll see. I don't know if we'll end up fighting a real army from Pangea. So we'll have to see how things evolve. So anyways, that's it for this episode. A little bonus, 2 for 1, 2 turns for 1 here. And I'm probably going to just go and look at the turn that rolled over and record the next episode. So see you guys then. Take care.